Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey with Reagan, episode 5, right? We're kicking it here with some Buffalo Trace, and we're going to talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, Buffalo Trace, one of my buddies got me a bottle of this a while back, and I tore the thing up entirely too quickly, so I went to go get some more. I was like, hey, I'd like to buy it by the case, because it's really up there as good as I want. Turns out they won't sell it by the case, because apparently the workers are trying to unionize or something like that. And maybe we'll do a Whiskey with Reagan on unions at some point. But for the most part, I'm going to be like, nah, son, I'm going to just get it as I can. It's not crazy expensive or anything like that, but she sure is delicious. Get a little bit of that bad, but not too much. I dropped some. All right, let me plug that bad boy up so it stays good. All right, guys, so we're going to talk today about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and why I chose it as my martial arts form or hand-to-hand combat form, whatever it is you want to call. So why I chose Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and why I do that. So first of all, let me get another one of these. So you guys know, if you've looked into me at all, I don't have a cool guy background. So I've been training with former Delta operators for a long time. In that time, I've gotten to train with former Rangers, current 160th guys, a lot of particular dudes in the special operations community. Resounding, overwhelming opinion was that I needed to go to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu arena and work that aspect of it. So started there. There's a lot of other good martial arts groups and disciplines. There we go. Disciplines out there. They're fantastic. They're great. However, most of them lack a lot in certain areas. Like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lacks strikes. However, strikes can always be incorporated in there. It doesn't mean you have to be like me and specialize, but I'm definitely one of those guys. I don't like to diversify. I like to specialize. So, if there can only be one, the most valuable, as 88% of fights end up on the ground. Wherever that statistic came from, don't ask me. I can look further into it, but the more I watch, the more they end up on the ground. So 88% of those fights end up on the ground. Then I need to have a good ground fighting skill or game or whatever is defense. Don't care, call it what you want. So that, and if you're standing up and you've taken someone else down to the ground, you may be able to negotiate for a less violent outcome without actually having to go hands-on any further with someone. So that lends itself to a civilian also. So also the mentality kind of might be with special operations, like just because I'm taking some dude down on a target, an objective, whatever like that, doesn't necessarily mean that I want to kill him. I want to keep him alive so he can rat on his friends and we can go kill his friends. So maybe special operations mindset is a little bit different than civilian, but whatever, I'm okay with it. So after talking to those guys, of course, when I started looking into it, a lot of law enforcement's moving that way simply because there's so much control over somebody and you don't actually have to hurt them, or you have the ability to just hurt them enough to where they comply in the event they're becoming violent. So fantastic. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna hit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's where I'm gonna specialize. I'm gonna do that. And of course, first I didn't want to wear a gi or anything. I was like, I don't want to wear those man jamas. And I'm like, now afterwards, I'm like, now I know why they have those things, and oh, I am glad I've trained in the gi. I actually feel it makes me a lot better at no gi. But if you don't know what that is, don't worry, just look into it. It's plenty of YouTube videos out there on it. So I decided, like, hey, I'm going to go test this one instructor out real quick. You know, there's a couple others out there. One or two of them didn't really specialize. They were just kind of, they did a bunch of different things, and I'm like, I'm cool with that. I want a specialist. So I decided to go to this one particular guy. Brandon Walker, Pure Jiu-Jitsu in Longview, Texas. So look him up if you want. Dude can fight, I found out. So I did decide to go try the guy out for a couple of days or weeks. I only thought I was going to be able to go once or twice a week whenever I started, but I was like, hey, once a week is better than nothing. So that was my mindset. I'm like, hey, I may be paying $120 a month, and I might only go 4 times, but it beats me sitting home on that one day when I could go just become better at who I am. So I'm like, cool, I'm gonna go do that. So I had some stuff change with my family business that made it to where I was in the office more with them, and so it wasn't the greatest thing in the world. However, it did lead me to having a lot more time at the house. So now I go 4 or 5 times a week. So get me about 10 fights in a week. So that's kind of my goal to keep at. I'm old and it hurts after a while, so I don't want to go much further than that right now. But either way, when I decided to look into this, I went and sat with a guy, or sat and watched the first one, and then went and participated in the next class. And I'm listening for cues, like little things that tell me the guy's head's screwed on right. Because I don't care how crazy you are with it. You could be all focused on competition, or you could be all focused on certain things, and it just be like, no, like this, like he may be a BAMF, but there are some things that are missing in there. So was it John Guadek quoted, it's like, if a fighter lacks the mental weapons, God bless. If a skilled fighter lacks the essential mental weapons, he will be defeated by an unskilled fighter that has them. That's how black belts get their asses handed to them in alleyways with street punks. Different mindset. So I want to know the mindset of the instructor. So I go sit there, he talks for a minute about gun takeaways, and then wraps it up with these are not a really good idea. If you're in a knife fight, be prepared to get stabbed. If you're in a gunfight, prepare to get shot. This kind of stuff, while it's taught, there is a cascade of failures that has occurred to get you to that position already. I'm like, mindset's correct. So that's what I wanted to do. So I've been training with this dude for about 4 years. Got my blue belt about a year ago, or 4.5 years, I guess now. So I got my blue belt about a year ago. So I was training 3.5 years to 4 before I ever got my blue belt. One of the things I love about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is it takes a long time to get promoted. You're not going to get in there as a white belt in 3 weeks, get your blue belt. If you do that in any martial art, it's a joke. Just saying. So it takes a long time to get to the level that you're getting in the colored belts. So not to go crazy into that, but I've had my blue belt for a year now and I don't have any stripes on it. And I go 4 times a week. So I'm putting my time in. So, but hey, the progression's not there. I don't want to, if you put me as a purple belt right now, there is a line of blue belts waiting to prove whether or not I deserve that purple belt. That's one of the beautiful things about it. Dudes are like, all right, cool. You're not being jerks or anything like that, but white belts look to fight blue belts a lot. Blue belts look to fight purple belts a lot. All right, it's testing their skills, not necessarily testing you out, but if they just walk all over you several times, they're going to get suspicious as to why their belt's one color and yours is another. So anyway, there's a way that people hold each other accountable, and that's a huge thing with me. It goes a long way. So, and there's a couple of guys out there, or other instructors, got promoted to a brown belt or got promoted to a black belt recently. Man, fantastic. That dude has put his time in. So I'm always super happy about that. There's a few exceptions, but we find in the area of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there is less pomp and circumstance and more sweat and blood amongst a lot of some of the popular stuff that's out there. So again, I'm just an opinionated guy. You don't have to listen to it. So I do love that about it. It helps me remember to trim my nails, because you don't want to be scratching people while you're reaching for them, getting grips or anything like that, wrapping them up. One of the things I love about it is it gets rid of this, it inoculates you against the fear of getting close to someone. Not emotionally, that's always going to be there, guys. But as far as getting the intimacy of fighting someone extremely close is it's a thing, believe it or not. Once you get very close to someone, wrap them up, put their arm down, get them in a position in which you're going to snap their arm out of socket, break an elbow, anything like that. You're like, hey, it's a different mindset if you've never been in that position. I don't want to play the experience game or anything like that, but even practice and you get somebody in that position is okay. It's definitely different. So what I find, especially with other white belts, I noticed it when I started, and I was 35, 36ish when I started. It's a different thing. Dudes will be real hesitant to reach and grab, and especially hesitant to clench you and get in there and clamp onto your body and keep you from being able to do anything. It weirds dudes out. So it inoculates you against that. Like, I got no problem now as a 40-year-old of like getting real close and hugging pretty tight on you. I call it the struggle snuggle. So what I hate about it, man, I really don't like doing it. I'm older. The benefit is I don't get hurt a lot, and that's one thing that I'll put above some of the other stuff. A lot of stuff that's really strike based. In order to practice that as real world as you can, you got to take the gloves off, you got to do the hitting, and you can only do so much of that before, even if you're in your 20s and you heal in 24 hours, you can only do so much of that before you have to stop. And if you get a severe injury, you have to stop for a while, because all you're doing is making that injury worse. If your whole goal is to compete, and that's what you want to spend your body on, is to compete, that's great. I've seen dudes in their 40s that can't bend arms and have like jaws that can't fully close because they've been kicked or beaten from some particular way. If that's what you want, man, I'm all for it. Not for me, bro. I've got to go home. I've got a lot of other things that I've got to do. So have I been hurt? Absolutely. Typically, it's easy enough that I can get over it in a few days or a couple of weeks, right? Yeah, about 2 weeks is the worst I've had. There's been other dudes that got to go longer. My instructor right now has been off for a month as far as like actually rolling with anybody for a bad knee that got popped out of place or something. So I didn't ask him too much about it because I don't want to know. But so it is a little bit easier on you as far as that. I mean, I do keep Advil in the truck, so as soon as I get in, I'll just swig a big old 4 pellets of Advil or whatever they're called, and swig that down with my protein to try not to be shaken, because 8 minutes doesn't seem like a long time until you're fighting somebody for 8 minutes, like very close in. That's nuts. So that's also what I hate about it is, I can only get about 10 fights in a week, 4 classes a week before I've got to stop and heal. My knees will be hurting, the inside of my shins will be hurting, my shoulders, anything like my hands. So like I haven't really had any real hand injuries or anything like that. It tends to be this finger right here around the knuckle is pretty sore in the mornings, even weeks after getting some fighting in. I tend to have pretty tough grips, and it's probably my fault of not letting go of the grip when I should have. But I like to hold grips because I'm dumb. But anyway, so I don't want to say I love it to the extent that I'm like, yeah, man, I live for jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I don't. I live to be better than the guy I was yesterday, or stronger, more dangerous, whatever it is you want to call it. I'm just trying to be better than I was. So maybe that includes not having quite as much whiskey. But it's been over a month since the last video, so shut up. So anyway, I think I've ran out of time, guys. So hopefully this one didn't go too long. So if you got any questions about that, man, throw them in the comments. If you just want to be a jerk in the comments, cool. I'm not going to worry about responding. But if you want any other questions, or hey, want to see an episode on something else, by all means, hit me up, and I'll see what I can put out there. Out.